This function calculates present value of a set of cash flows using APR and compounding frequency as inputs. Is this too small? Let me make it a bit bigger. Under Tools, Options, Editor Format, let's make this size 12. Of course, this is now too wide. As long as I start the next line with a code as well, it's still a comment. And cash flow and timing are given in a range. You could also write comment lines about what each input means. I'm going to do it only for this one. I rate, annual percentage rates, IFREC, annual compounding frequency or compounding frequency. For example, monthly equals 12. If you're doing weekly, 52, daily, 365, so on and so forth. And iCash is the Excel worksheet range that contains timing and amount of cash flows. As you can see, it automatically made those green. Green means it's a comment. Now, I'm going to start declaring my local variables. You start with the statement dim, similar to dimension. For example, I'm going to calculate a period rate. I'm going to call that P rate, okay, as double. I'm going to use counting integers. I'm typically call that I row as double. I will also count the number of rows in the range and the number of columns in the range. So let's see. I'm going to call it row count. Oh, I'm sorry. I row is going to be an integer. Actually, let's make that long, because the largest value an integer can take is plus or minus 32,000 something. A long is short for long integer. It could take up to plus or minus 2 billion or something. Not that we would ever do, but if you had a range that had 500,000 numbers in it, and if you declare that as the integer, it's going to crap out on you. So I make it long. I'm going to do call count as long. Okay. Now let's do some calculations. First and foremost, P rate. You may have noticed that I didn't type it as P, then capital R, E-T. Excel internally does not care how you capitalize it. I kind of capitalize them and weird ways because when you enter the sentence or the line, it actually reverts to its original spelling you put. If it doesn't, that means you made a spelling error. Okay. For example, I'm gonna write this as I rate divided by I frick. Okay. As you can see, P rate and I rate went to its original spelling, but I frick didn't, which means I typed something wrong. That's why I do it that way to see whether I made a mistake. But if I type I frick, now we're good. Now if you haven't done any programming before, let's think about the meaning of that statement. That does not say that T rate equals I rate divided by I frick. Okay. That equal sign is actually what we call an assignment operator. Here's what Excel does internally when it executes that statement. It says, okay, I rate. There's a place in memory that is tagged I rate. Okay. It goes there. There's a value there. It grabs that value. It does the same thing for iFreak. Then does the division, gets the result, takes that result, goes to the place in memory that is tagged P rate, puts the value in there. That's what that statement is. Okay. All right. Let's also grab the number of rows and number of columns in the range. Row count equals iCache is a range, so it has certain properties. Okay. So whenever it's technically an object, it's a range type object. When you put a period at the end, it actually gives you a list of things you can do with it. But one of the things I'm going to do rows. Rows is a collection of stuff that belongs to a range. Dot count. Okay. That basically means go to that iCache range, go to the rows, count them, and give me the result. And that result is now row count. In fact, immediately, here's what we're going to do. If row count equals 0, it shouldn't be, but somehow there's an empty range that was put in here. Then, okay, whenever you have a statement that starts with if, you finish with then. Okay. Next line, you're going to tell Excel what to do. In this case, we're going to give a message box. That's how you give a message to the user. In quotes, you provided a range with 0 rows. Try again. And after this, I'm going to set the value of the function to some known error code. And the way you return it, you type generalized NPV equals negative 9999. As you can see, it reverted to original spelling. That means I have written it correctly. And exit function. So if that happens, return a known error code. So when you call this function in Excel and it gives you 9999, you automatically know that there's an error. And you finish it with and if. Sometimes there's an else thing, but we haven't used that yet. In this case, if there's an error, I'm out. Now, next, let's grab the column counts. You probably guessed iCache dot columns dot count. For this function to work properly, that range has to have 2 columns. If it has 1 or if it has 3, it's not going to work. So here's what we're going to do. Again, spacing between lines is completely optional. To me, it's more visually appealing. It kind of separates blocks of code. If call count is not equal to 2, that's, less than, greater than stuff means not equal to. Or you could do this. If not, call count equals 2. Either one works, okay? But I like using the other one. Message box. This function needs exactly 2 columns in the cache flow range. Generalized MPV equals negative 8888. Handling errors is always important because you don't know what your user is going to do, okay? You're not, when you write code, you don't necessarily write that for yourself. Plus, you're not free of making mistakes.